I want to give you some fun facts about Scott Pilgrim vs. the World that you might not have heard otherwise. Okay, so Aubrey Plaza plays as Julie Powers in this movie. She's the girl who swears a lot at Scott, and when she does swear, the movie does like the whole blurring out of her mouth thing, and the movie actually acknowledges, wait, how are you doing that with your mouth? And she's never fucking mind how I'm doing it with my mouth, which again adds into the really awesome humor that this movie has, but I digress. When Edgar Wright cast Aubrey Plaza in this movie, this was actually one of her first bookings. Like, she had done no other big jobs in Hollywood up until this point, and it's actually during the shooting of this film that she got like 3 or 4 other jobs, including her role on Parks and Recreation. As Edgar Wright puts it in his interview, it's as if getting one job gets you 3 or 4 other jobs, and those get you more jobs. It's just really cool to hear how this was Aubrey Plaza's first big break, and she was so funny in this movie. Another fun fact for you that I've already kind of covered, but according to Edgar Wright, this film took 100 days to shoot, which is the longest of his career, and it oftentimes consisted of 6 days a week, with on Saturday they would mostly shoot musical numbers. And fun fact number 3, the scene where Scott sees Ramona delivering his package to his apartment and he takes it and he throws it into their garbage can, well, that was actually done for real. That was not edited to show Scott making it into the basket. They ended up retaking that exact shot, I believe, over 30 times in order for Michael Cera to actually throw it over his shoulder and make it into the waste bucket. They didn't want to edit it. They wanted it to be purely raw, purely real, and they ended up pulling it off after many, many tries. Another fun fact, Brie Larson at the time of filming this movie was about 19 years old, and before she became big as an actress, as you know her as Captain Marvel, or really before she even started acting in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, she was actually a pop singer, which makes a ton of sense, right? Because she sings the metric performance of Black Sheep in this movie, and by my opinion, it's actually really, really good, and I love that version of it. But now she's going on to become a Marvel world famous actress, and she's quite good at what she does. Another fun fact for you, the voice that you actually hear narrating at various points throughout the movie, including the very beginning narration, the Scott leveling up and gaining lives throughout the movie, that's actually voiced by Bill Hader. He is the very last credited cast member in the movie if you watch the credits close enough, and I thought that was a really cool Easter egg. And I didn't even notice it up until I rewatched this movie like last week. Another fun fact, everybody who is playing an instrument in this movie mostly learned to play it for the very first time while shooting for Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, with the exception of Michael Cera, who is actually a pretty experienced bassist going into shooting. Mark Webber, who plays Steven Stills, and Allison Pine, who plays as Kim, had to learn the drums and the guitar on their own, while Scott was already fresh in his mind. And the fact that these actors are able to be so talented to the point that they have to learn their lines, do all these crazy things, and learn an instrument at the same time is just absolutely bonkers. And as the fun facts keep rolling, did you know that Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is actually based off of a comic book series created by Canadian writer and artist Brian Lee O'Malley? He created Scott Pilgrim vs. the World as a graphic novel that was adapted into the screenplay that was written by Edgar Wright and fellow writer Michael Bacall. And if memory serves me right, I believe only 2 out of the 6 books were written by the time they started shooting filming. And taking that point about Brian Lee O'Malley even further, Brian Lee O'Malley's original idea for the 7 evil exes actually came from an experience he had with his spouse. Apparently, he learned one time that his spouse had 3 exes named Matthew, so he adapted the 3 evil Matthews to be the 7 evil exes. Talk about getting inspiration in your art. That is one heck of a wild one. 3 exes named Matthew.